Good afternoon, Triple S members. Hope everybody's having a great day so far. I just want to thank everybody for joining us on another episode of Triple S Live. I'm your host today, Brett Battaglia. Today we have John Huff and Scott Durham of EnvirOx. We'll talk a little bit about the benefits of OxiGenesis ready-to-use disinfectant and how that product can help you stand out in the marketplace with your own customers. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to ask at any time. We have a Q&A as well as a chat box down at the bottom, and I'll do my best to address any questions as they come along. Since this is being run through a Zoom meeting rather than a Zoom webinar format, we do ask that everybody stays muted throughout the presentation just to eliminate any background noise. As always, these webinars will be recorded and we'll have them up on our members portal by the end of the day. So with all that stuff out of the way, I'd like to hand the floor over to EnvirOx.
Thanks a lot, Brett. Just want to thank everybody for attending today. I know your time is valuable. So we're trying to pack this in with a good overview of OxiGenesis and some information that we hope you'll like, but we are leaving a significant time for questions at the end, so we can hopefully answer your questions about OxiGenesis RTU. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go forward here a little bit. So just some background. We launched OxiGenesis in 2023. Hopefully most people saw some sort of the efforts that we put forward. This is just a little overview of the marketing effort we put into this product. It certainly is the biggest marketing push that we've probably ever done at EnvirOx. Just a little few factoids here. We had 844,000 impressions overall. 167,000 individuals were reached according to the metrics that we have. It could be higher than that because sometimes those metrics are kind of hard to really capture. But we did a lot in service of that. 8 info lit sheets, 6 emails. I'm not going to read through the whole list, but we put a lot of effort into it because we knew what we had was unique. And we knew that it was maybe something a little different for the market. So the reason why I want to give this background is I want to go over later on in the presentation what we've learned from this first initial push with OxiGenesis, what the customers are responding to. But as you can see, I just wanted to kind of give you this context for where we've been with OxiGenesis. We're about a year actually, I think, out since we first launched this, a little more than a year ago. So we're still kind of in the early days of getting the word out there, but we've got some ideas about how to do that. One of the things that really helped in these efforts is we did win the 2024 Sanitary Maintenance Distributor's Choice Award. And we were excited by this because this is, of course, voted by distributors. So we could tell that the word is getting out there about OxiGenesis, about the innovation that it really represents in the market. So it was a good sign, a good indicator that some of that messaging is getting out there. Now, here's sort of the meat and the potatoes of what I want to present for you today. Now, and if there are any basics about OxiGenesis that you want to go over at the end, certainly let me know, and we can kind of talk about the benefits, the basic benefits of it. But I didn't want to go over that too in depth in case everyone's aware. I didn't want to just tell you what you already knew. So I really wanted to focus on what the market is actually responding to. And Scott, as our regional sales manager out in the field, if you have anything to add to this, please feel free to jump in as well. But really, one of the things that we found is that people are really responding to the Design for the Environment certification. One of the things that we had an issue with OxiGenesis, so just one of the challenges when we're trying to sell it, is we have to be really careful about our language and what we say to meet the EPA guidelines, to comply with this Design for the Environment certification. So saying things like it's a safer disinfectant, that kind of thing is out. Like we can't do that. So we have to communicate that idea in other ways. And we tried that in a couple different ways. This no PPE, the no personal protective equipment, that was one of the things that we led with first, partly out of fear that people weren't really going to necessarily have a lot of knowledge about the Design for the Environment certification right off the bat. We knew that there would be a certain amount of education that would have to go on there. One of the things that we found, I think, pleasantly surprising is that people, whether they had heard of Design for the Environment beforehand or not, are responding to it. Just having the certification there, knowing it's part of the EPA's program, I think it really lent a lot and made people understand that this disinfectant that is so effective at what it does and what it can kill is also designed for the environment certified. We still find that the no personal protective equipment, even though this didn't resonate quite as well as we might have liked, I think there's certainly a lot of disinfectants out there that people use without probably the proper PPE. So maybe that was part of the dulling of that effect, that people aren't necessarily following the guidelines there. But we still think this is a good differentiator out there in the market. It's a piece of the puzzle that we're still going to push in our further marketing of OxiGenesis. But we really found that the design for the environment is a great kind of best foot forward.
Hey, John, if I can just add to that,
Yeah.
as far as the green certification goes, this is a really, really rare thing for a disinfectant to be certified. The independent green organizations, they're the ones out there that independently test our product and stamp it green or not. Obviously, we're the manufacturer and we know what's green and what isn't, and we have our own opinions. The H2 Orange 2, for example, our flagship product, we believe is the safest product out there because it does kill germs and there's no PPE required and it's neutral. However, the green certification organizations will not certify it because it kills germs. And they frown on the fact that it kills. And so they don't like to put that into the green category. Here we have OxiGenesis now that is green certified and it's a disinfectant. That's very, very uncommon and rare in our industry to be able to say that you have a green certified product that's a disinfectant. So there is some confusion out there with the green organizations and the certifications that I think particularly with DFE, it's not as popular as Green Seal or Eco Logo. It's actually EPA, it's the government, designed for the environment. They got into the program a little bit late, maybe about 15 years ago. But they have a little bit more power because it is the government. And to say that we have a green certified disinfectant is a big, big deal. And when I make comments out in the field about that we get an interesting, wow, really? Because you just don't see a lot of green certified disinfectants in the industry. And as far as PPE goes, that H2 Orange 2, again, our flagship product, no PPE required. When I'm out there showing the product and demonstrating the product, I spray it on my hands. I spray it on my pants. I show how safe it is. You can choose to do that or not, but it does give a good illustration of the no PPE requirement. And the same thing goes with OxiGenesis. You can say no gloves required. When you spray it on your hands, it really makes an impression.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that is, really the thing. Even internally, we had initially when we were first launching OxiGenesis, I think it took a little while for us internally to really kind of get how special this product was, especially once we started seeing the performance. And we use our own products all the time. We get them shipped all the time. And I know, like, personally, just having used OxiGenesis in my home a ton, it's pretty impressive stuff. Let's put it that way. And it's a great segue too into this third point here, which is something that we don't really hit a ton. It's a more of a third or fourth bullet point a lot of times in our previous advertising. But this is low residue. It's one of those things that we've found people who have been early adopters of OxiGenesis have really loved. Like, I know personally at home, we have tons of glass tables. I use OxiGenesis to clean those glass tables because it's a disinfectant and it's that good at cleaning the table up. And so it's one of those things that we don't really push because this is a disinfectant first and foremost, and that's how it's meant to be marketed. We still believe in clean and then disinfect, but OxiGenesis, when it comes to other disinfectants that leave residue, that leave films and various other things that can actually attract pathogens, OxiGenesis isn't going to do that. It's very low residue. And that's been really exciting to see people really experiencing that out in the field. So then I want to talk a little bit about where we have taken this year. When we really launched this one bottle in every ... campaign, and the idea behind that was really kind of playing off something that we did with H2 Orange 2 bottles a long time ago, the red bottles. We had a one bottle in every classroom advertising campaign. That was actually before my time here even. And this is really kind of playing off that concept and making people understand the value of RTU products. There are certainly certain kinds of facilities that can use RTU products, and that's probably the best for them, whether it's an issue of space, not for the concentrates, not having that, or just the nature of their business. But even facilities that use concentrates, mostly there are advantages to having an RTU around. And really the idea behind this campaign, we took some of that learning, we really pumped up the design for the environment logo, broad spectrum kills, just to reinforce what a broad spectrum of pathogens the OxiGenesis can really take care of. And then there's the concept of, you can actually, because of the nature of this disinfectant, because it is a green certified disinfectant, and as Scott was saying, you can spray it on your hands, you can feel comfortable leaving this, one in every room. And the idea behind that really is looking at some of the labor shortages and the turnover that is in our industry and pretty much has been and probably will be for a very, very long time. This is a way to empower building inhabitants to, help control pathogens across the day when the cleaning crew isn't there, basically. So it's a little bit of a different take, and it does take a little more kind of hitting that touch point again and again. But we do think it could be a pretty powerful thing if people could really embrace it. So yeah, that's one of the things that we're trying, just sort of to illuminate people about the different uses of RTU.
And John,
And yeah,
John, that one bottle in every classroom, we still do that to this day. We had a big advertising campaign years ago about it, but it still applies, particularly in schools. Schools are our biggest market segment with the kids and the teachers and the parents, and there's always a concern about safety, particularly in the classroom. And a lot of teachers are reluctant to use any type of a product, especially if it's a disinfectant, because in California here where I'm at, there's a safety act that, they're not even allowed to use a disinfectant in the classroom unless they're properly trained. So here you have, again, our flagship product, H2 Orange 2, combined with OxiGenesis, no PPE required, green certified, safe. So there can be a little bit more of that fear and reluctance to use the product because of the safety profile of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, and the fact that we still have that one bottle in every classroom program that we use. Like you said, we just haven't advertised it really in a very long time. We haven't gone heavy with it in the market, but it's something that we do kind of, because that's one of the things, of course, that everyone encounters, from state to state and from school district to school district or organization to organization. People have different needs that they want or have to have fulfilled in addition to everything else. So like Scott put up, this idea too of how does H2 Orange 2, let's say, and OxiGenesis sort of live side by side. I think there's some obvious things, right, with the H2 Orange 2 being the concentrate. Right now it's very clear. And going forward, just because I'm sure there will be questions or people wondering, about the concentrate. It certainly is something that we're pursuing and we hope to have as soon as possible. But a lot of that really is dependent on things that are out of our control, such as, different governmental, state and local, and, federal who have to approve things. So, it is coming, but until that time, we do think there's a lot of value within the RTU. And if nothing else, we think it's a good introduction to OxiGenesis and the power it has, and, something that we can expand in the future. So that brings to a close just everything that I kind of wanted to present in a more formal way. And now we can open it up for a Q&A if there's any questions.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks guys for sharing all that information with us. Like you said, if anybody has any questions, now would be the time to ask. You can either unmute yourself and ask them, or you can write them down in the chat. I see one coming in right now. Somebody's saying, is it fragrance?
No fragrance at all. Yep. It has a very low odor, but no fragrance at all.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to either unmute yourself, or write them down in the chat as well, and I can ask them. But as we're waiting on that, do you guys have any last thoughts to kind of wrap up this presentation today and give members kind of one last point?
Yeah, well, I'll just
Yeah,
say, we mentioned our flagship product, H2 Orange 2. Probably most of you on the call are selling that product already. And this is really a 1-2 punch. It has the cleaning capability of H2 Orange 2, a little bit lower on the pH, which could be a benefit to cleaning, actually, but still no PPE required. So you see a common pattern here. It's our proprietary hydrogen peroxide, the peroxide we invented and introduced to the industry 28 years ago. We've stabilized it like nobody else can figure out how to do. That allows us not to put a lot of additives in the product. So you have H2 Orange 2 to clean 95% of your facility, neutral, safe, kills germs, no PPE required. And then that other 5% or so that where you're really going to want to do some disinfecting, critical touch points, doorknobs and bathrooms, that type of thing. You have our proprietary hydrogen peroxide, again, with no PPE required. So safety across the board, a terrific 1-2 punch in H2 Orange 2 and OxiGenesis.
Yeah, that's a great summary. I will just add to that sort of a little anecdote. I had a friend who was rehabbing an apartment, and the shower had been left for a little while. It was full of yellow mold. We went in there, and I tried the red. I tried H2 Orange 2 red. Usually takes care of a lot of things. It just couldn't quite tackle it. And I realized it was one of those 5% situations. Put OxiGenesis on it, and even like with a minimal of scrubbing, that mold was gone. It got rid of it. So I think that's just a great example of how even like some of our absolute best tried and true products, sometimes you need that little extra 5% to push you over the line, when you're dealing with different pathogens or fungi or whatever have you. So yeah, I think hopefully between that and what Scott said, I think you can see the value of OxiGenesis and maybe different ways there might be to communicate that to the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. We have one more question come through. Somebody's asking, is there any literature that shows this product compared to the other RTU green disinfectants?
Scott, do we have anything?
There's only 1 or 2 other ones out there. We don't really have a literature piece, but we do have documentation and spreadsheets that compare the top 10, 12 RTU disinfectants, including the other ones that are DFE certified, which I think there's only 1 or 2. We do have that information that tells you pH, cleaning capability, pathogens that it kills. Is it DFE or not? And check marks. So we do have that type of a spreadsheet available.
Awesome.
And I want to make one more point here, because I see Alonzo from CalGen is asking question. And I just want the California folks, if anybody else is out there, there's a reason that you don't know a lot about this, is because it's still not approved in California. California's EPA is backlogged and notoriously very, very slow. And all the other 49 states have enjoyed this product for coming on a year now. We're still waiting for California to get it approved. And I'm always reluctant to talk about a new exciting product before it's actually approved. We do anticipate approval sometime this year. Okay. And when I get that approval, believe me, Alonzo and the rest of you guys out in California, you'll be notified instantly.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for that, guys. Doesn't look like we have any more questions. So I will bring this session to a close now. But again, I just want to thank you guys for joining us today and sharing all that great information with our members. If anybody has any questions that they think of after the presentation, please feel free to reach out to us at info@triple-s.com, or John or Scott directly. They can get you where you need to go. But yeah, thank you guys again for all your help today, and we will see you on the next Triple S Live.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thanks, guys.